really. I mean, I think that I look for, more than that, I look for, the insane geniuses look for me, and they recruit me for some reason. And I don't know. I don't know. Josh Harris called me. Are you Ondi Timoner? Yes. Would you like to, come film at something at the end of the year? And I said, what do you have in mind? I don't really know what it is, but it's the millennium, and somebody's got to do something, so I'm going to do it. I'm bringing these artists together, and if you like what you see, I'll give you the money. Like, that was basically, he led me to him. I didn't identify him necessarily as a crazy genius off the top. What I did identify was he was spending his money in extraordinary ways. He was putting millions of dollars into this live-in human experiment art project. I found that very interesting. I look for things that are unfolding over time, because I felt when I first started making documentaries, I was in college, and I started with a video camera just asking people in Toll Booths and convenience stores as I drove across the country what they feared the most and what made them most happy. And in 1992, what they thought of gays in the military, because that was a big topic then. And I would start these huge debates in like these convenience stores, and like suddenly buying a bag of chips was like infinitely more interesting. So I just realized this camera was a way for me to learn. And then I went to this public access station. I was at Yale, where there was no production classes, and there was a public access station. So we went in there, and they said, you can use our shuttle editing system, to me and my brother, and but we get to show anything you make on TV. And we were like, great, not only do we get free editing system, but we get to show stuff on TV. So then it was that cycle that I got addicted to, of like endlessly learning with a camera, and then being able to share what I learned with people. And I went into women's prisons to try to break down the stereotype of women in prison, and to find out for myself what women in prison were really like. And I had seen all these Butch Dyke portrayals of women in prison on like late night TV. There was almost 3 of them at one point, and I thought, this can't be how it is. So I took a class called Transgressive Women in American Culture at Yale, and I said, hey, I'll take your class, but I want to make a film instead of write a paper. Is that cool? And they said, sure. The professor said, okay, so I took the class, and I did that with every class by the time I was a senior. I only made films instead of wrote papers. And so I went into this prison, and I found this one woman. Her life and case was so fascinating, and I graduated. The next session came in. I'm still sitting there making this film. And it was my first feature-length film called The Nature of the Beast. And I thought it would get her out of prison. Clearly, it was like the most amazing story. But nobody, it went on PBS actually, and nobody seemed to watch it, and nothing happened. And so I realized, I looked at like documentaries. Why are documentaries not being watched? And then in the early 90s, they really weren't. I think they're more popular today. But my main answer was, they're like history books. They're all like looking back, and they're maybe, we want to escape for a couple hours when we watch a movie, and here we have to be educated. It's like eating spinach or reading a history book. It's too educational to be entertaining. So that's when I started Dig. I started Dig because what my goal was to look at something unfolding over time. If I could shoot life as it was happening, then I could recreate the serendipity of life by connecting all the dots. Because when we look back on our lives, we always go, well, that's why that happened, But at the time, we have no idea why it's happening. So if I could film it, then I could actually, like an accordion, I could like close it, and all those peaks would be my film. And it would feel like it does feel like I lived with the bands. And sometimes we did. I mean, sometimes we were on tour with them, got arrested with them, et cetera, et cetera. But most of the time we didn't, and it's just we shot over so long that you really get to go on that journey. And that all my films have been like that since, basically.